It is 1:01. We're going to call this meeting to order. Today, we're here to have continued this month of discussion that we've been doing on county properties that we may sell or lease or retain. We really only have the main goal today, I guess, is to hear from what you folks had to say, and then, of course, Joe, if you want to say something too, we can include that. We had said last week we would continue with looking at the 5 or 6 pieces of property the county has for vacation or summer. You know, the folks who've been leasing for 5 or 6 months at a time for recreational parks. That is postponed. Commissioner Cassidy is gone, and she was the one doing the research on that. So today our main goal will be, and we'll just start off with, if you guys want to say anything further about this property that you had, and if you have any interest in if we did decide that we're going to sell it, if you have any interest in bidding on it, if we decide we're going to lease it at market value, if you're still interested in that. We have not made any decision other than last week. I think we put it on the list to consider for possible sale, which just means we have to start all the research and all that. So I'll turn it over to you for a minute, guys, if you want to.
Well, when we got the letter and saw the options that might take place, we have big concern, as we mentioned earlier, that we invested a lot of money in building a road because there's absolutely no access to this property. And we were under the impression we'd be able to get to lease it for 7 years. That's what our contract said, renewable. And so we went ahead and invested all this money to build this road. And so we would be interested in a purchase since we already have a lot of money invested. So we just kind of wanted to find out exactly what's going on before we
see where you guys are at.
Yeah, before we go any further. We would like to do a little bit more to the road, but I don't want to invest any more into it because I don't know if I'm going to have to remove the road or what I'm going to have to do. So.
Okay, now did you said you leased it for 7 years, or was it?
That's our contract. We have to pay every year by January, but if the contract is for 7 years, and we're only a year and a half in.
It said 7-year renewable.
Mm-hmm.
It's annually renewable.
Annually renewable.
Which does leave it at the discretion of the board, if I'm understanding our legal right. But we will probably, I think, we're looking at 2 options for that land: either selling it, which would make you give you the option of making a bid for that, or continuing to lease it. The only difference is that we would probably, what we've talked about is, if we continue to lease it, we would make it publicly known, and whatever the highest offer we had for leasing it or whatever would be the option. But I will take a look at your lease and run it through the attorney upstairs again and make sure we're not doing something. I mean, we voted to put it on the list to consider selling so that we could start doing the research and that. So there's no decision. Anything's possible right now. Okay. So if we decided we wanted to continue to lease it and you had to submit a bid to lease it, is that something you'd be interested in doing? Like, yep, this is how much we'd pay for a year on it. Or is yours by the year or by the 6 months?
Year.
It's a year.
We pay every year.
I know, but you were renting it for all 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
I get them all, been reading through a lot of them. So,
I bet.
yeah. So, okay. Would you be interested in bidding if it goes, if we did decide to do that?
Would that be after the 7 years contract?
I don't know. First, we'll have to look at the contract and see if it really was a 7-year. We're running into another problem that was brought up the other day, that certain legal processes had to be done to make a contract over 5 years in length, and those weren't done in some cases. And so that makes some of those leases that were just done, let me just say, inappropriately. So I think anything's possible, whether we decided to lease it for 1 year at a time, if we decided to grant a 5-year lease, or we decided to grant, go through the legal processes and make a longer lease as possible. I guess my question is leasing still of interest to you if we continue to do leasing?
If we had to bid on the lease, then no.
Okay.
The reason being is we have invested so much money to make this land usable.
Mhm.
Because there's absolutely no roads into it and it's very steep. And so if we had to bid and have to spend even more money for a lease that we thought we already had,
Right.
then no. I would just as soon remove the road. And then if somebody else wants to lease it, they can build their own road.
Okay, if we decide that we're going to sell this piece of property, is that something that would interest you?
We would be interested, yes. I have contacted a forester and just out of curiosity, reviewed what timber value there is to try to get a heads up and what the possible value is and that sort of thing. And in his brief review, because I didn't want to spend the full assessment, not knowing what's going to go on, his brief review is, he said that as far as the property value, the timber is no value. The reason being is it's very spotty. There's not a lot of timber and it's very steep. So he said the kind of equipment the loggers would have to bring in to log such a small parcel, they would end up taking 90% of the money just to do the logging job.
And this is probably why that piece wasn't locked.
He said, he said if it was completely covered in cedar, it might have a little value, the timber value.
Gotcha.
There's the reason we found the property is because Potlatch has completely stripped everything around it, pretty much. And I happened to notice there's actually some trees left on the parcel, and that's when I pulled up my Onyx and I said,
We knew it wasn't potlatch.
yeah. And I said,
And that's how we found you.
Shoshone County, they own it, so that's why we contacted Shoshone County. But there's a small sliver that crosses the other side to be the south side of Boulder Creek that has quite a few trees, and that's the only spot that's really treed well. But in order to log those trees, you'd have to do a helicopter. Because you either that or try to get an agreement with Potlatch to cross their land just to yard these trees out of there, because they won't allow you to come across the creek with it.
Right.
So it's a very difficult parcel being that small to warrant any timber value.
Okay.
And they're looking about a load an acre probably on that, something like that. Give or take.
It's just, it's so steep and rocky. Matter of fact, the only place usable right now is what we cut a very steep road into to put a couple RVs at the lower landing.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to go out and go with somebody and show you what we've done and show you what the property looks like. You can go across to the other side on, as they call it, South Boulder Road, and look across. So that would.
And that's
give you a
actually
good
a better
idea
way to get you guys to see.
to see the lay of the ground.
Yeah, because it's kind of a weird
It's steep.
angle. It's weird lay.
Okay.
But to get to see everything, that is your best angle.
Okay.
And we'd love to take you guys out. We'll show you.
And like I mentioned previously, earlier this morning, Jay, and then, like I said, I couldn't remember the head roads guy.
Let's call him the roads guy.
Shoshone. When they went out there, they thought it was crazy to build a road on it because it's so steep. And
Rocky.
And rocky.
Yeah, I've looked at the aerials and it does appear to be a pretty steep, rocky,
Yeah.
not
It's
not like a
awful.
garden spot. Yeah.
It's awful.
The main reason we were gung ho about it is because it is in an area that all of our families have
Mhm.
hunted and been around.
It's
for a
kind
long
of in the
time.
middle.
And
Yeah.
so that's why we're gung ho about finding a spot to put an RV that was hoping we wouldn't have to worry about. And, instead of camping on timberland property, we've done that for years and they've always been real cordial about that. And,
Well, the direction we're headed, based on our last vote, was to pursue and research the idea of selling it. So, I think a good step in that might be to go out and see it with you, if that's something that interested.
Perfect.
And then, of course, keeping you in making sure that we have your contact information. And by we, I mean somebody who will actually file it where I can find it.
Remind me to give you one of those.
And so that we can,
I brought them.
keep you in the loop, like, yes, it's gonna be for sale and here's the process and here's the date. But
So if it goes up for sale, does it have to be, is it like an auction thing, or would you be able to sell it?
It's a public notice. Public notice.
public
sale.
notice, and then either a sealed bid or an auction. But, probably would be on a piece like this. I mean, you're the only people who've ever expressed any interest in it that I'm aware of, so. But anything we do has to be public because it's public land, so.
And then we'll also review that lease on the, where you said it was 7 years, because the way I remember it, we've looked through so many leases. We sent you a letter, right?
Yeah, they got
Okay, so it's due every year, but you have a 5-year lease or 7-year lease?
Yeah, I got a
Well, I was
copy.
gonna say, pull it.
Yeah, let me look at that, and then we can talk to our legal one.
Yeah,
You guys can take a copy of it.
oh, we have
We have
it.
Oh,
I just wanted to kind of
Oh,
look
you
at it and
bet.
see what they said.
ready to move and share.
You got the badge here.
Yeah. I'm just gonna sit here. I'll hand stuff. If I need it.
Well, now you see why we have to sell land. We need chairs.
I am, I'm just,
Yeah, I'm not gonna take it, you can take it back, I just don't want to read it real fast and just look at it.
And that was something, one of the things we thought was kind of strange is because they said that it was due on such date, but when the wife brought the funds in, they said, well, it's December 31st or January 1 of every
January
year.
1 on,
But
so.
they wrote in there that it was due on the first date that we signed.
They
So
didn't,
it was kind of weird.
yeah, there's never been a real system. And there's not been, and one of the things we're getting complaints about is there hasn't been any opportunity for the public to know about this or have an option on it, or, and there's never been a set time that things are due. Everybody's different, and there's certainly never been a consistent price. We got people paying $500 a year and people paying $6,000 a year. So we're just trying to come up with a more transparent, everybody knows what's going on, everybody knows, and selling it
Yeah,
honestly
see,
would
they
be
said
the best.
April, because that's when the snow finally melted and we could get in there. But yet, the other gal who was in here before
Right.
told me I needed to have it in here by January, so I always came in December to pay it.
So the original lease that they drew up, I had one of our attorneys look at it, and he kind of chuckled. He says, well, it's 100% protecting Shoshone County.
Which we knew.
And, which I understood that. But he did laugh at the part that said anything that is permanent. And he says, you own an excavator, there's nothing permanent.
Trust me, it's
And
not.
so one of the things I did not like is they never had in there that we had to build a road.
It wasn't like we didn't have permission, so.
And so
we
I
made
told
them
them, I
put that.
said, we can't do anything until you guys give us permission to build the road first.
Mhm.
So they included that in this lease agreement. So, I mean, that is partial proof that there was no roads, period.
Yep.
We built the road.
Yeah.
But it's also
So-
protecting us for building it.
That's right.
Not someone can come back on us and say, oh, well, you did that.
Yeah,
You said we could,
I read the notes and I saw that,
Yeah,
that's
so-
not a problem.
We,
And so one of the things that concern mine is if this does go out to, like a public auction or something like that, I'm still nervous about the amount of money we had invested.
I
We only
understand,
got 1 year return out of it so far.
I understand.
And so, the only thing I could think of is that if by chance it gets sold out from underneath us, is that we remove the road. Or if the county wants to pay us for our time building the road.
Yeah, and I'll just be honest with you up front. I don't think in most of our leases, when people invest on leased land, they understand that when the lease is up, they don't get to take their changes with them unless it's portable. But let's look at the first step is we'll examine your lease and have the prosecuting attorney help me weigh in on, yep, do you still have 6 more years or what? And second, our commission has already voted that our preference would be to sell it, not lease it, and get us out of the business of owning land and make you taxpayers.
Mhm.
That would be our preference, and that seems to work with your plans as well. So let's get your contact information. let you know what we find out after we have legal review the lease, and then let you know if we're gonna go ahead with the sale, and let you know so that you're fully prepared if you want to bid on that or participate in that sale.
Okay.
Or if something else pops up in the meantime and we say, oh, no, it's yours for 5 more years or whatever, So we'll just go with the facts. We'll just start with that. Does that work for you all?
Sure, perfect.
Okay. And we'll do what we can with that. Okay.
You have an email address, card?
Yep, I got my
Did I get
card
that?
here. Yep. Hang on.
If she can get out of that chair.
Yeah, I know. I just heard it popped out. There you guys go. You guys, I guess I got most of yours.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's at least that one.
Okay. You have an excavating company, is that what you said?
Mhm.
Okay.
And a small bison ranch
Yeah.
Oh,
in Worthy.
Oh,
in
really?
Worley. Okay, so that's home.
There's that one too. You can have one of each.
Okay.
All right.
Most of my folks were born in Port Wayne and have lived down in area all their life, so.
Mhm.
Good.
It's changing.
it's
Oh,
changed a lot.
boy.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to build a lot of the roads for the Forest Service and
Uh-huh.
in the Port Lanes here. That was really changed a lot.
Okay, well,
Well, thank you.
we will include you in the next steps and keep you posted on everything, so, okay. All right, next time, did you want to share some more thoughts with us, or ideas, or?
Other than, well, we discussed it greatly on Monday.
Yep.
You guys got a good feel as to
Mhm.
what's going on there. But other concerns, if you do move forward with a parking lot, is zoning. Because that is, to my knowledge, zoned residential. And so when you move to zone it commercial, I think you'll find a lot more pushback at that time, because none of the property owners that border that feel they're gonna give you, any positive reinforcement when it comes to trying to zone it commercial.
Good point.
But
Yeah.
Okay.
when you touched on something though earlier about, transparency with these properties that are available to lease. When we started leasing that property, it had sat vacant for many years. And my wife actually came here and researched the properties that FEMA had gifted over to the county. And that's the only reason we knew about it.
Yeah.
Not through anything that was posted by the county, through our own independent research, were we able to find this out. And then we reached out to the county and initiated and offered to lease it. So that's how that whole thing happened.
Yeah, that's good to know. Somebody brought up today that they're confused when they did a title search on that land, that we actually didn't get that one gifted, that we actually paid $90,000 for that 5 acres. So we've got to dig into that and figure out why the county would have bought that. But
Yeah.
what we're looking at is that in many, if not most counties in the US, when the county owns property and they're going to let it out for rental or vacation, that they do have a process where they let everybody in the public know and everybody has a chance to bid. Not that anything was done wrong in the past, just that better practices might be to do that. But we will keep you, as I promised, although there was a lady at that group that offered to get me a list of emails.
Yeah, she was waiting for one more to get one more.
And when we get that, then the same thing is here. We'll put together a rudimentary plan after we've done our research on zoning and everything else, floodplains and everything. And then we'll call you guys up and see if you want to sit down and walk through it and give us your input, and then we can modify it from there and continue on. But
Sounds fair.
yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come in again, and I appreciate you all taking the time to come up from Worley. And you don't sell buffalo steaks, do you? You do? Okay.
Unfortunately, though, I am fresh out of those until winter.
Wow.
Winter, yeah.
All right.
We greatly downsized in the last couple of years. We had 71 and we're down to 21, but we just have five new calves, so.
No.
Expecting 2 to 3 more.
Okay.
But, yeah, the last couple of, droughts and feed costs and everything else hit us
Yeah.
too hard. So.
All right. Well, I appreciate you all taking the time,
Thank you.
and this meeting is now adjourned. And we will